Duen, President of the Senate, distinguished Senate President, requests for the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin for peace mission. Pursuant to Section 5, Subsection 5, Part 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I seek further to consultation with the National Defense Council, the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin. This request is made further to a request received from the government of Benin Republic for the exceptional and immediate provision of air support by the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The distinguished Senate may wish to note that the government of the Republic of Benin is currently faced with an attempted unconstitutional seizure of power and disruption and destabilization of democratic institutions. The situation, as reported by the government of Benin, requires urgent external intervention. The distinguished Senate, considering the close ties of brotherhood and friendship which exist between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin, as well as the principles of collective security upheld within ECOWAS, it is our duty to provide the support as requested by the government of the Republic of Benin.
Hello there and welcome to the broadcast. That was the voice of the President of this Nigerian Senate, Godswill Obudakpabio. Yes, reading there the letter transmitted by the presidency to the Senate requesting approval to send troops to Benin Republic, neighboring Benin Republic from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Indeed, they were sent before that request was made and the approval requested by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, that has since stirred controversy across various platforms. But yes, again, welcome to Homo Politicus. You're watching Enterprise Television. Kingsley Bass is my name. We turn attention to West Africa, where political tension and regional diplomacy have taken center stage once again. Just over the weekend, Benin Republic confirmed the foiled coup attempt after what authorities described as a coordinated plot by a group of senior military officers to topple the government of President Patrice Talon. According to verified media reports, some suspects were arrested, weapons were uncovered, and intelligence sources traced aspect of the plan to external collaborators. Now, the government insists the situation is now under control, but the shockwaves have rippled far beyond Cotonou, the capital of Benin. As the news broke, Nigeria stepped in immediately, offering intelligence support and security collaboration, especially across the porous border community shared by the two nations. President Bola Tinubu, in his capacity, reportedly engage in high-level emergency consultations, calling for calm while stressing the need for to protect Benin's constitutional order, and further sent troops from Nigeria to Benin. We're talking, airstrikes and troops on the ground to get this done. ECOWAS, you do know, that's the Economic Community of West African States, already grappling with recent coups in Mali, in Burkina Faso, even Niger and Guinea-Bissau was quick to issue a strong statement condemning the attempted takeover. The regional bloc reiterated its zero-tolerance policy for unconstitutional changes of government, warning that West Africa cannot afford yet another rupture in democratic governance. Well, in an even more decisive move, President Tinubu formally sought Senate approval for the deployment of Nigerian troops, and that's the clip we just played you as part of a proposed ECOWAS standby security operation seeking to stabilize Benin Republic and support the country's security agencies. The Senate has granted that request, an approval that raises important questions about Nigeria's role, responsibilities, and capacity in the sub-region, especially given Nigeria's internal security challenges. I'm joined today by political commentator Lester Wilcox as we examine what all of this means, what truly happened in Benin, what Nigeria or why Nigeria is taking such a bold stance regarding that, and whether the Economic Community of West Africa still has the legitimacy and capacity to enforce democratic norms. Again, I'd like to thank you so much, Lester Wilcox, for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kingsley. It's always my pleasure.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. We must first say belated happy birthday to you, and we see that the celebration continues. We wish you the very best and hope that you have a good one this year and indeed the many years to come.
I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Let's get straight to the focus today. So from reports available, right, from reports available, this is quite the thing, right? What we saw on Sunday was quite the thing. And from your standpoint, looking at what really happened in Benin Republic, what's your position really? What happened on Sunday, Nigeria's involvement in that?
That we came close to having what we really feared about at our doorsteps. When the news broke, of course, it took everybody by surprise because Benin is one of the most stable democracies we have. Benin has not had any history of coup d'etat after 1972 coup by Matthew Kerekou. And so even after Matthew Kerekou became a what they call it now, a civilian dictator, they have had stability. So they didn't suffer these multiple coups, which countries like Nigeria or Ghana suffered. And since the new dispensation, since under the agent of Matthew Kerekou came in, Nassim Fosoglo and all that, Benin has had this consistent democratic practices and protocols that is an envy. I mean, next to Ghana, I can just tell you, next to Ghana with strong democratic institutions. So when the unfortunate happened in Benin, of course, Benin Republic and Nigeria share a common border. And so if evil got to Benin Republic with, like you could say, our porous border, with our porous border, the minute an evil gets to Nigeria Benin Republic, it's already in Nigeria. Because how do you police? I mean, I don't know the length of our border between Nigeria and Niger, and between the borderline, I think, which stretches up to Niger State, up to, I think, part of Kebbi State. That is where Benin Republic border stretches up to. And don't forget the problems we've had already with the so-called Sahel Liberation Force, made up of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. These are countries that are bordered Benin. So there is the tendency that the coup in Benin is an external engineered coup. Because these three countries that made up the so-called Sahel the defense forces, they are cut off from the sea. And there is a lot of sanction against them that they don't have access to the sea. And the only place they could have access to the sea is through Benin Republic. And so if you have their collaborator in Benin Republic, they will have access to the sea, they will have their supplies come in, and then the next target will be Nigeria. So Benin do not have history of coup. Their soldiers do not have history of coup. So this must have been engineered from those other countries that already have successful military rules. I mean, already have military rules entrenched within their polity. And so they are now looking for access to the sea. So they could prop up one or two renegade soldiers within the Republic, and then they could want to have their way. The next country being Togo, because they are all Francophone countries, they could easily manipulate Francophone countries in order to get. So don't forget that there's external influence to this, other than we are seeing. And so it is for me, it is sad, it's regrettable, but thank goodness that powers like Nigeria stepped in on time and nip it in the bud.
Beyond these possible external factors responsible for this coup, and you've just mentioned those geopolitics factors that could come to play, the Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso factors, and what could happen in terms of border realignment. Well, some persons too, it's reported too that the nature of democratic rule under President Patrice Talon is responsible for this as well. If we take aside what the the leader of the soldiers who attempted the coup, if you take aside what they said, they mentioned the fact that soldier welfare, the welfare of soldiers have not been attended to. They mentioned economic reasons. They mentioned political reasons too. But even beyond what they say. Again, if you take aside what they've said, there are talks around the nature of democracy practiced there even now under President Patrice Talon. Don't you think that too is responsible, maybe partly, for why this attempted coup was, was planned in the first place?
Well, the truth of the matter is, every coup plotter will always give you reasons why he's planning a coup. No coup plotter, they will look for something that will make it sweet. Of course, we know that African democracy is not what we expected. We know that democracy in Africa, like I've just said, maybe I can give it to Ghana, as a really, really democratic entity. I can give it to South Africa, can give it to places like, well, for me, that's the two examples that can really come to mind. Even though I don't know what happens within the Central African region. But look at countries like Cameroon. Look at countries like Uganda. Look at what is happening in Tanzania. So democracy in Africa, yes, it's not what it's supposed to be. Nobody will share from that fact. We've not entrenched democracy. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Today, everybody, ideologically, there's no ideology in our politicians. No confusion, no ideological leaning in our. I'm talking of Nigeria now. In our politicians. Today you are in APC, tomorrow you are in PDP, next day you are in ABGA, tomorrow. So we're not building democratic culture. And sincerely speaking, I put that responsibility squarely at the doorstep of President Obasanjo, because he started this issue of coercing politicians to join his party. That when PDP was holding sway, they cornered and coerced every person to become part of PDP. And by 2003, PDP was controlled about 28 states. So this politics of winner take all, bragado, do or die, which robbed Nigeria of a good democratic, just like what Ghana has, and of course the sensibility of the people too. So Africa has not had a good democracy, but I can tell you for free, Benin Republic do not have that issue. And I just give you their history. They had a problem. There was a coup in 72, Matthew coup, and he ruled with iron fist with all this while until it became the people revolted, and then he has to leave. Even after Matthew coup left, an election was conducted, he still won. That means he was a popular leader. He still won, and this one time before.
But Lester, you agree with me that the announcement of a winner during an election does not necessarily mean that that leader is popular. Politicians have ways of manipulating the process to favor them, so that the election
but let me tell you,
outcome will
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If somebody left power, and another person takes over the power, and after a certain period of time, an election is conducted, and that person wins, he is not the one that conducted the election.
Yeah.
Somebody else conducted it, and you win. It's just like what happened in America. Would you say that leader is not popular? He is not the one that conducted the election. The one that brought him back. He's not the one. So that means he was popular to the Beninians at that time. And then after then, there has been consistent movement. Okay, look at what's happening in Ghana. The current president contested, won his first term, lost 2 elections consecutively. And then he now won another election. In a landslide. That is democracy. That is how to go. Because the people are sensible, they are matured. I'm talking of the Ghanaian electorate now. They are sensible, they are matured, and they have dignity in their political choices, which is different from Nigeria. The Beniners too, I can give it to them, they have dignity in their political choices. But of course, everybody will have economic issues as a reason. If everybody is using economic issues as a reason to overthrow government, then President Trump has been overthrown.
Well, my last comment, specifically was not about Coup, which you've referenced in the past. I was speaking generally about, the political space, especially within the continent, within Africa. And by the way, if you look at the 2019 election in Benin Republic, the one that returned President Talon, you see that the figure in terms of the voter turnout was, quite low. And in that, particular election, President Talon won. He came out and said, "Oh well, the election was, well conducted." As a matter of fact, African Union commended the Electoral Commission for putting together such a good election. But we do know that the fact that the process was peaceful does not mean that it was fair, and that was, what I was referring.
Kingsley, I agree with you completely, and I've just said it. African democracy, African electoral system, especially by incumbents, has never been the best. You see what happened in Cameroon recently. Most African countries, look at what's happening in Tanzania now. The repression against its own citizens, and even a woman that is the president. In fact, the death rate in Tanzania today is over 2,000 of their citizens. So, and the unfortunate thing again is the institutions of Africa, talking about the AU, the OAU, the AU, the ECOWAS, and other, they don't condemn elections. They will come and say it is fair and fair. Our former president, Jonathan, has been supervising lots of elections after he left office. And what is always a report? Oh, free and fair. And you and I know it's not. You and I know that there are underground hands. Of course, I'm sure they supervised the election in what do you call it? The election in Cameroon. I'm sure they will return a free and fair election. So we know that. But whatever it is, that cannot be a ground for a forceful takeover of government.
All right.
Let's talk. The worst, they say it, just a minute, they say it, that the worst of civilian government is still better than military, because we have seen it, we have tested in Nigeria. We've seen it, and we knew what it is. Yes, I must give it to the military in Nigeria. Most of the development we had, most of it, they are product of the military. But we saw what happened between 1993 and 1998.
Let's
Who
start,
wants to
let's
go back
start,
to those
let's start.
years?
If you, I'm wondering how, Malians, how those in Niger, how those in Burkina Faso would take your last comment about military juntas, military regimes being, not better than democratic rules. They've been there for months now, or even years in some cases. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, those who have formed the Confederation of Sahel States. And the people seem not to be complaining about it, at least going by reports.
Well, if you follow what you see on those TikTok and social media blogs, then you'll be making a mess of your education. Yes, when there is of course, nobody's. If today, when Trump won election, every American rejoiced. But 3 months down the line, what is the story? That is human nature. When the junta struck in Mali and in Niger, the people rejoiced, everybody shouted and rejoiced. They drove the French out. The people were rejoicing on the street. But today, can they tell that they are better off? What did they used to be better off? Now they have sanctions on their head. Now they don't have access to the sea, and that is why they needed a route, because they are all landlocked countries. So it's a two different things. I'm not saying like I just told, the military in Nigeria, the military government in Nigeria did fantastically well in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of development of the country. They did very well. I will not call governance. So they did fantastically, because some of the things you see today, some of the infrastructure you see today were built by them. So there is always the fact that because they do things expeditiously. But what of the abuses? You saw what people do. You saw what happened in this country between 1993 to 2000 and to 1998.
Yeah.
We saw what happened in this country. And then, so we should, no, people love the man from Burkina Faso. People love him because he showed himself to be the people's choice. Don't forget, Burkina Faso have had history of nice leaders in terms of military leaders. Thomas Sankara. He was the beacon of African leadership. He was the beacon of African leadership, but among the youths. Of course, he worked against the establishment didn't like him, so they used his own friend Campore to overthrow him, and then Campore metamorphosed to a civilian dictator from military to civilian, and then continue until this gentleman came and removed him from office. But you see, ECOWAS has made it clear we are for democracy. So if you want to contest election, galvanize their people, leave the khaki, drop the khaki and the gun, and then go to the field. The people will support you. If you are very good, look at Sierra Leone. Their current president today, Madabiu, was the same person that ensured that there was democracy. When his boss wanted to sculpt democracy, he was deputy to, I think I can't remember his name now. He overthrew the boss immediately and then conducted the election and they handed over government to a civilian. Today, years after, he contested as a civilian and he won. So if you do the right thing, the people always stand by you. So I'm not making case that our politicians look, from Nigeria, taking Nigeria for example, they are not building political culture. We are not building party political culture, party ideological politics. We are not doing it. So we are damaging our own democracy.
All right.
But there's always room for learning, and always, but it can never call for military intervention in order for us not to upset the apple cart of the progress we have made. Because leadership is civil. Leadership in every country is, because every country has a constitution, is civil. Okay, if you are saying African leaders are despots, what about the Russian leader? Who can be more despot than Russian leader? Belarus leader? Who can be more despot than them? You see what is happening today. I mean, Russia telling Ukraine to conduct the election when they are not, when a despot, when Muammar has remained there for how many years? So it's a general human nature. But I tell you the truth, it does not justify coup d'etat. And I'm happy that Nigeria already having enough of our own internal problems with bandits, with people. So bringing Sahel and the Sahel security force, regional force, next door to you, is what Nigeria cannot tolerate.
Let's talk about the, if you like, response from Nigeria. Very quickly, very swift that was to the crisis. And, before we talk about what this signifies about Nigeria's diplomatic and security priorities in the sub-region, you've just mentioned that, the need for that to have happened. Let's talk what many have now regarded as the, if you like, abuse of power. Some persons have said that. I'm talking about the fact that the president acted first before sending, as required by the Constitution, transmitting a letter to the National Assembly requesting approval to send troops to sister, Benin Republic. What do you have to say about that? We know that there was no time. It was even a.
I empathize with the unpatriotic Nigerians that will say that, I call it trash. Now, look, what is the first action you take? Self-defense is the first action you take. Even if your parents told you not to fight outside, which our parents told us. But the moment somebody wants to hit you, what do? You wait and go back to home and tell your parents. You defend yourself first and foremost. That is what the president did. And I think the commander-in-chief has absolute powers to defend Nigerian interests. First and foremost. So long as it's not injurious to the country. Now, something happened. And if Nigeria has not acted at that point, The coup will have stabilized. So will you now wait? And then the people get themselves entrenched. Close the border, close the airspace. The first thing they will have done, excuse me, the first thing they will have done, the moment that coup have succeeded, is to close the airspace. So will you have waited for them to sit down, make broadcasts, then you now write National Assembly that was not in sitting, and the National Assembly now debate before you now send a fighter jet? Come on. I mean, Nigerians, you see, one thing about us Nigerians, we don't believe in the strength we have. We criticize because we don't like this president. So anything he does is bad. Anything he does, no matter how it is to save you. Because I tell you the truth, and I've seen that, and I've said this in several fora. This coup from the Republic is not just internal revolt alone. There's an external forces, and it's not far from the Sahel Defense Force. Because of course, those countries, like I said, they need access to the sea, and the only country they could use as a point is their own francophone countries, Togo or Benin Republic. So Nigeria acted first in self-defense of Nigeria. So what did they do? They did a preemptive strike on the request from the government of Benin Republic. They did a preemptive strike so as to keep the status quo. And then now the country has now made a formal request. Okay, come on and help us. So which is what the president letter to the National Assembly for them to now give proper authorization. So we have waited on Sunday. The National Assembly will consume on Monday, and then will you call them on Sunday? So Nigerians must learn how to be. I don't know. Everything not politics. Everything not hate. Look at the country first. It's the same people that will criticize the president if that coup has succeeded, and then 6 months down the line, we start seeing negative effect on Nigerians. When we start seeing cross-border raid, cross-border now in the south. Now we're having instead in the north, Abi. By the time the Sahel group or whatever they are take hold of the Republic, which is next door to Lagos, you start having cross-border insurgency in Lagos, in Ogun State, in Oyo State, and then the same Nigerians will be the same one that will not blame president. Why don't you act? So we are just a confused people. We don't even know. We don't even understand. Our own is just to criticize. No positive thing, nothing to praise, criticize. Even when what is being done, I expect that people should applaud Nigeria. People should applaud the president because it is look, Nigeria has done it in the past. How did Gambia remain a democratic country? It was Nigeria. How did Sierra Leone war got ended? It is Nigeria. How did Liberia war get ended? It is Nigeria. So what are we talking about? We cannot praise our country. We cannot appreciate our country. We cannot appreciate our leader, even if you don't like the leader. But you should peep through the actions to know that whatever that action is to protect Nigeria in the long run. Because if that coup has succeeded and they get themselves entrenched, how do you want to remove them?
Let's talk internal security in Nigeria. What does this response and the fact that the Nigerian troops succeeded in helping to maintain status quo, quoting you now, what does this mean what does this mean for Nigeria? What does this say about the might of the Nigerian military, the Nigerian armed forces, with Nigeria battling terrorism and banditry at home? That external deployment, even though necessary, going by your last comment, was that, should that political might, should that political will rather be shown to enable the military show their political might in order to fight banditry and terrorism in the country?
Let me say this. When you able to nip a problem in the bud, when you plant a tree, you can cut it easily. You can even use hand to cut it. But when you allow the tree to grow, you need a bigger instrument to cut it. By the time the tree becomes a giant tree, a gigantic tree, you don't need a cutlass, you don't need a hoe, you need a tractor. And of course, even after removing the tree, to cut it and to make the place level is not the same. Unfortunately, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not inherit did not start banditry. Boko Haram, the first insurgent group of had started under late President Umaru Yar'Adua. President Jonathan didn't manage it. It became worse under President Jonathan. As at that time, what were Nigerians saying? Oh, it was a plot against the president. It was because he's a southerner. They plot against him. They wanted to destroy his government. Instead of tackling the problem, we sectionalize it. We even deny the existence. Buhari came to office and was able to recover most of the land. Of course, it has festered. It has become an endemic thing because we allowed it to fester. Even at the time that it started in 2010, the then government has taken decisive action and not left it to political permutations and all kinds of theories, all kinds of conspiracy theories. It was a tackle headlong. As at the time it was tackled headlong and nipped in the bud, just like what happened in the Republic. Today we'll not be talking about it. So we allowed it to fester. It was even President Muhammadu Buhari that did a lot of work to liberate the 16 local governments that were under Boko Haram when they came to office. Of course, because others saw that there was a benefit in banditry and all that, other groups begin to come up. And of course, by then, you know how Nigeria is big. The security forces is thinning out and it has been overwhelmed. And that's what we are today. And then people, because it has been allowed to fester, people are not committed. We've heard how much people are stolen, military budget that defense that were stolen. We've heard of it. So it is still Nigerians that didn't do what they're supposed to do. Soldiers were not well motivated. Soldiers were sent at the battlefield. We are not well equipped. We are not well geared. We had difficulty in getting equipment, arms and ammunition. We are not sincere. There were a lot of insincerity, a lot of blame games. Some people are saying, some Nigerians are happy. Oh, it is no longer Jonathan, it is now Buhari. Some are so we did not allow it. We did not nip it in the bud. So we allowed it to spread. Look at the country like Nigeria, as big as it is. We allowed it to spread. I can tell you for free. Had it been that this coup in the Republic succeeded more than 24 hours, if it has lasted more than 24 hours, it would have been difficult for Nigeria to do that preemptive strike and for us to have driven away those people. It would have been difficult. Maybe it would have become diplomatic, and then it will now start raising forces. But of course, that first strike, that first action, nipped it in the bud. Now, what they are doing now is mop up, and that's why the country has requested for Nigerian troops to come and help them to mop up any other thing that is remaining. But right now, the main danger threat has been downgraded. I'm not saying it is totally out. It's been degraded, and that is how Nigeria should see it. You know. So unfortunately, we allowed our own insecurity to fester. We allowed it to continue. President Tinubu inherited it. Inherited a terrible state, just like Muhammadu Buhari.
So we've got to go.
We must work on it. We must work on it and continue to get the support of Nigerians for us to get this in through.
We've got to go, but going by your comment, and I patiently listened so that I can get clearly your point of view, and then balance that with what lots of Nigerians have been saying too about the administration of late former President Muhammadu Buhari, God rest his soul. You saying that former President Muhammadu Buhari successfully fought terrorism in this country?
As at the time he came to power, let me remind Nigerians, 16 local governments, 16, between Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, were fully in the hands of Boko Haram, with their flags flying. As at the time he came to power, 16 local governments in Nigeria. Maybe Nigerians forget things quickly. So what was his first statement? He said the theater of operation should be located. In fact, that is the chief of army staff should get to Borno. And within months, they were able to flush out, they recover all those territories, and that no one territory was held down, no one was held down. But of course, the aftermath of all that he inherited, and then the insincerity of persons within the system, internal collaborators. So he was able to fight it, but of course he didn't. At some point, they say it was taken defeated. But you see, insurgency is something that is mixed with religious war, because there are external interests, there are internal interests, and our military is stretched. They pay supreme prices. You see, sometimes when we talk about what Nigeria is fighting, we don't put into account the lives of our servicemen and women that have been lost every time. We think that it is the presidents.
Yeah.
So,
let's start.
so to put it lightly, he
Yes.
fought insurgency very well. Unfortunately, under him too, other groups begin to splinter. Like it left the northwest, the northeast, moved to the northwest, and that's what we have today.
All right. I was hoping that you'd mention. I just wanted to say too that it's on record.
No,
that,
no, no, yes. Because all these other ones started because when Borno and Yobe were being liberated, these other groups started, and of course, it started from Nigerian collaborators. How did it start? Zamfara. It was economic struggle for illegal mine of gold. That's where all this started. That's where it started.
Yeah, I was just going to mention too that, I was hoping that you'd put that there too. It's on record that at some point farmers could not go to farms, especially in the northwestern region, as you referenced, because they were told to pay taxes. You know, banditry became a thing under former President Muhammadu Buhari as well. But let's leave things there now. And that's the close of today's discourse. That failed coup in Benin Republic may have been contained, but the conversations around that has sparked, some stuff about democracy, about regional security, about Nigeria's leadership role within the sub-region. And that, of course, continues. As the situation continues to develop, one thing is clear: the stability of one nation in this region inevitably affects the stability of all nations in the region. And that much you've heard from my guest, political commentator, Lester Wilcox. I'd like to say many thanks to him today for sharing valuable insight, and to you too for watching. Appreciate that. Continue to stay there for engaging content as we continue to monitor this development. Lester Wilcox, many thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. May God bless Nigeria, and may God continue to protect our troops. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. He said my lines already, and so we'll leave things there. Kingsley Bass is my name. Until next time, may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.